Hey there, and welcome to my website. If you're a first time comer to the website, I'm happy for you to have a look around. I have put together some free trainings for you to go through. They're just in the form of short videos and infographics, but also a number of different blog posts, etc. So you're more than welcome to take a look and see if any of it actually rings true for you. In the meantime, a few of the questions I've posed just on this particular presentation might just get you thinking about how you might be undermining your own health. So if you go to work with any kind of a healthcare practitioner, whether it's a nutritional therapist, a dietitian, with a GP, or any other consultant, there are a number of questions that they will put to you in terms of your readiness to make changes when it comes to, making any advancement when it comes to chronic illness or just in your health overall. So if you want to take just a few moments to go through some of these questions yourself on your own after this video and maybe write them down in a journal or, put them down into your notes app or something like that on your phone, it'll give you a good indication as to how ready you actually are. So there we are. It is as simple as that. Are you ready for the changes that are ahead of you and anything that might be proposed to you? And what do you want to change specifically? You got to get very, very specific about it. Is it about you want to change body composition? Is it that you want to change the way in which you're eating? Is it that you need to get more sleep and you want to overall just decrease the level of stress in your life? It's really looking at what changes have you made in the past and what has worked for you, and are you ready to implement some of those habits again into the future? So in terms of your health, have you already put something in place that might be working already that you can build upon? Also, have you put anything there, in terms of your diet modification? Have you managed to take out any sugars, or have you gone to any other lengths in terms of, have you started a ketogenic diet, or are you just not ready yet? Have you made no attempts so far to change any of your eating habits that may be undermining your health? So it's just to be in that kind of awareness is the thing. So for anyone who wants to change their body composition, have you really thought about what it is that you're striving for? Is it that you need to develop some muscle mass? Is that you're trying to shrink your waist size? These are all clues as to whether or not you're going to be ready when you have a clear picture of what's ahead. Because when you're really sure of the picture that you want to attain, then you're going to be, ready to strive and move forward in terms of habit change, modifying your lifestyle factors. And why not take into account some of those factors that have worked for you previously and put those to good use? So it doesn't just come into your nutrition and lifestyle, but anything that you've applied across your career to date, that works well for you, and any of those strengths that you've already put into place when it comes to managing a project, anything like that that you can implement will really come in handy when it comes to making some lifestyle changes. So those strategies, you need to get planning, you need to have the firm goals in place, and you need to think about it. Anything that's not planned for, you're just going to undermine yourself. So what didn't work so well for you in the past, you need to consider those things also, because the setbacks will happen, but you want to know that you're able to come back strong from them into the future. So get very specific about them. It's not a case of just, I want to have good health overall. That may seem like a good health goal, but it's not specific enough to really get you to dig your heels in and do the hard graft that it takes to really implement the changes, as I say, and to make dramatic change and get the transformation overall that you're looking for, because most people are actually seeking a transformation rather than just change. So in terms of your healthy habits, what would you like to see at the end of the day? What habits would you like to put in place? Is it that you want to start walking every day? Is it that you want to start exercising every day? How would those healthy habits look to you? And how about those eating habits specifically? Is it that you want to change over from, a highly processed diet, high sugar diet, that you want to start to introduce more vegetables, more fruits, just diversity overall? Or are you just ready to implement one small thing, which is perfectly acceptable? And it's actually probably a better way to go, especially if you have been struggling long-term with your health, to just implement one or two things at a time that you can manage and sustain for the long term. So what differences would you like to see in your body shape or your body composition? As I mentioned earlier, is it about muscle development? Is it about changing your shape and just, losing some inches overall, so that you can actually be more metabolically healthy? So is it about having diabetes or pre-diabetes, bringing down your blood sugar levels? Are you at risk of cardiovascular disease? Does that run strong within your family? How about your joints, etc.? Are you having issue with your joints and your stability, your balance? So all of these things really do matter at the end of the day. So it's just about considering all of these things and putting them down into your goal diary or your journal. And then recently, have you made any other changes to habits that have worked for you? And if so, just jot them down, make note of them, and make sure that you acknowledge those accomplishments as well, so that you don't necessarily make yourself feel guilty or beat yourself up for not necessarily having reached whatever your target is already, but just to acknowledge what you have done previously. So what other further changes would you like to consider? And are there any barriers? So whether it comes to time, whether it comes to money and flexibility, your work load and your work family life balance, are there any of those things that you could make any small changes to, and just to prevent there from being too many obstacles in your way to achieving what your goal is? So looking at a scale of 1 to 10, I'd like you to just consider on that scale where you might happen to be, from 1 being horrible to all the way up to 10 being awesome. How would you rate your nutrition habits? And would you think that you're a particularly active person? So whether you're exercising on a regular basis or not at all, is it a case of you need to get honest with yourself and just acknowledge whether you are or you're not moving enough throughout the day? So if you're happy enough with the number of hours that you're doing, that's fine. But just make a note of whether it's less than 5 hours, or, as the scale shows, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, and above for anyone who's particularly active, especially like maybe training for a marathon or for triathlon or something like that. Any other activity that you're carrying out throughout the day all matters, because all movement matters, in terms of whether you're just doing some gardening and it's for leisure, but it's still movement and it's still moving the body, whether you're working to and from work or you're cycling, whether you're doing a lot of cleaning in your in day-to-day life around the house or within a job or something else like that as well, just to count all those non-exercise movements into your day as well, because they do add up, as I say. So how ready, willing, and able are you for the change? Because if you don't change, as this says, if you change nothing, nothing will change. So you've got to get honest with yourself and really just examine where you're at right now. And looking at that scale again of the 1 to 10, how ready are you to change your behavior and your habits? Because that will be asked of you by any practitioner. Certainly if you were to work with me and I were to work through your casework, etc., and to find that there are some areas that might actually need just some positive aspects added in, whether it's, to do with sleep and hydration or exercise and movement, etc., I would like to just suggest various different modalities that could really help you to attain good health overall. But for you, there would be no point in actually just engaging in the practice at all if you're not ready and willing to at least try one or two of the suggestions that are made for your health. And then, as I say, it's a willingness, but saying to yourself that you can and you will try to do these. On a scale of 1 to 10, how able are you? So it's about acknowledging also, are you able to do some of these things, whether that's in a physical or in a mental state? So if you're just not ready to do it when it comes to your mental state, if you feel that you may need to go to speak to another practitioner, if you're dealing with something like grief or with depression, or that you're feeling very anxious about getting out, getting sociable, any of those kind of things, you really want to look at then what other things can we suggest in and around that, or what other practitioners and help in terms of therapeutics can we add into your lifestyle to really help you to become more capable. And then, as I say, able in terms of able body also would be in terms of, are you able to do things from a point of view of the physical activity that's required, whether it's the strength, whether it's the ability to even walk from here to 100 yards. It's just to really take stock. And some other things to consider then before making any decisions would be, what's the payoff for you in terms of if you don't change, if you keep things the same and it's the status quo, what is that payoff that you might get from not changing? Is it a case that you get plenty of attention from people for, maybe having a chronic illness or whatever it happens to be, and that you get a lot of support in and around that? Is that something that might just happen to hinder you in the long run in terms of, do you feel that that support would actually disappear perhaps if you were to implement some of those changes and really regain your health? And then what might be so bad about making those changes? Do you feel that you'd have to sacrifice some of your time, some of the foods that you love, or, to really start doing something like exercise that you just maybe to date have not really had a love for? So it's really just about getting honest with yourself, and just saying whether or not you're prepared to allow some modifications, some adaptation, and changes in your routine and your schedule, and making time for things and making time ultimately for yourself. But fundamentally, it's taking a look at what have you got to gain from putting any of these changes into practice. At the end of the day, we're all striving to have a longer life and more healthy and robust as we move forward, that we're protected health-wise against whether it's dementia, or from osteoporosis. So it really is important to have all of those things in mind when you say to yourself, what have you got to lose? What have you got to gain? But you have more to gain and to benefit from by putting these changes into place. So, what would be bad about not changing? That's probably another way of looking at it. Just look at right now how things are for you and really just be honest. Look at the overall picture of your health. Consider what challenges you're facing right now that you really are struggling with, and look 10 years down the line and say to yourself, how do you want to be? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want to be able to accomplish? Do you want to be able to travel? Do you want to be able to lift a grandchild? Do you want to be able to write a book? So any of those things, they are really, really are, things that you've got to keep in mind. So it's just worth taking a look at those and just saying it to yourself that into the future, these are really a future that you can craft for yourself. Okay, take care. Bye bye.